Hi, my name is Chris Salem, your host of Business Influencers. You found us here at TALRadio. Welcome if you are new. Again, hope you are enjoying all the many of the great different shows here on the TALRadio platform. We have been here now for over 3 years with Business Influencers, and we continue to grow each and every week because of you, the listeners, coming back each and every week. And again, if you would like to see new content that we have not covered on a show, feel free to reach out to our team here at chris@christophersalem.com. That's chris@christophersalem.com. Today's show is being brought to you today by Alumni Direct. Alumni Direct is a new social media community platform dedicated to bringing alumni together from all different generational types and an opportunity to meet new people for the first time. Now, this is a membership program, taking out all the noise out of social media. You get to come in and generate genuine and authentic relationships with the people you choose to interact with. And because as a member, you get to enjoy a wide array of different services that are not available to the general public, both on a professional and personal development level. If you'd like some more information about Alumni Direct, check them out at alumnidirect.com. That's alumnidirect.com. Well, we got an exciting show for you today. You know, what do people want for their purchases that have changed dramatically over the decades? Well, you're going to find out today from Dr. David Gruder, our guest, as we're going to be talking about the evolution of consumer demand and implications for business leaders and how we can now go through this next phase that we're heading into and how you can make the most of these shifts that are helping to shape the future of business leadership, humanity, and you yourself. And without further ado, we welcome Dr. David Gruder to the show. Dr. David, how are you doing today?
I'm happy. It's a pleasure to be with you, Chris. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, we are looking forward to hearing from you. And I guess, Dr. David, let's just start with, consumer demand and, where has it been? Where is it going? And kind of take it from there, like where the implications, where business leaders have to be aware of how to adapt to the next phase.
Yeah. Well, I think the best place to start in the timeline is the 1950s and 1960s. And at that time, especially in the 1950s, when the modern version of the American dream was hatched and was installed in the American psyche initially, and then at that time around the world, was the idea that we were going to be happy through consumerism. And so what and I've got nothing against consumerism, but calling consumerism or excessive consumption happiness, I do have a problem with.
Yeah, exactly.
And so at that time, what the focus in advertising was typical Madison Avenue, where they were pushing products and services. So you were buying a product or a service, and over time, the evolution of consumer demand went beyond just being willing to buy a product or service because the manipulative advertising was telling us to do that. And in the early 2000s, we shifted into what was and is referred to from back then as the experience economy, where consumer demand was requiring great experiences with the products and services we were buying. So that's where I'd like to kind of pick up the timeline.
Yeah. And, even though I was born the next decade in the late 60s, I can recall that. I remember, because TV, and it just changed everything in terms of advertising things to people and getting to more people in a shorter period of time. So, yeah. So can you share with us, that evolution of that and how that changed how we live our day-to-day lives and so on, and where the shift is coming now, where is it going, and what has to be done?
Right. Well, so that shift from materialism, consumer demand, to experience, consumer demand, really took hold in the early 2000s, and I think that the poster child for that was Apple computers, which was about really creating an army of devoted fans who were devoted not because the machine was necessarily superior, although some people could make an argument for it to be superior to a PC, but because Steve Jobs focused on computing being a great experience and the machines being aesthetically pleasing to work with and things like that. So that's kind of the example of that. And we also saw a rise of things like eco-consumerism, eco-tourism, and things like that. And then in the give or take 2017, 2018 timeframe, there was a new term that was being used in journals in the marketing and advertising industry, where we had gone from consumer demand around great experiences with the products and services we were offering to transformational experiences with the products and services we were buying. And that's what they were calling it back then, was the transformation economy. Right?
Yeah, and then COVID hit.
Well, precisely. And one of the unexpected positive things that came from COVID, if we can talk about anything positive having come from that, was that a lot more people than might have otherwise been doing soul searching were doing soul searching around meaning, because there we all were being isolated and all of those problems. And so more people than might have otherwise been doing this were doing that kind of soul searching for higher purpose, higher meaning.
Yeah.
And that process accelerated the evolution, or the speed of the evolution, from the transformation marketplace into what's next, into what's emerging. And what's emerging next doesn't have a standardized name yet that I'm aware of, but what I've called it is the transcendent economy, transcendent consumer demand, where people are looking for higher purpose and meaning in how they're transforming through the experiences they have with the products and services they buy.
Wow, that is fabulous. And let's unpack that more, if you can, for us. From like a psychological level, an emotional intelligence level, what that means to the consumer, and what business leaders that are working for companies that are, or running businesses that cater to consumers, what they have to do in order to find that alignment.
Brilliant. Which of those two do you want to do first, the consumer end or the business
Yeah, let's
end?
do the consumer. That'll be great.
Sure. So from a consumer point of view, what consumers are inundated with is a never-ending avalanche of buy me, buy me, buy me, right? And all of these, FOMO, fear of missing out, where you're going to get this great discount if you buy it yesterday, and all of that. And it's just kind of the latest iteration of what was installed in the 1950s that was first developed in the 19-teens and 1920s by the father of modern public relations, whose name was Edward Bernays, and he wrote and published the architecture of what he called manufactured consent, which is manipulating people into supporting products, services, causes, or candidates while thinking they're doing that out of their own free will. And so latest version of that is all of this explosion through the internet of all of these opportunities that are time limited and fear of missing out and all of that. But the messaging is messaging about what a great experience you're going to have with our product or service or membership, and how transformed you're going to be. And whether or not that's the case remains to be seen, because there's a lot of hype in and around authentic marketing, which, as you and I know, Chris, is all about matchmaking. It's about helping people ensure that they're properly informed, that it's not manufactured consent, it's informed consent, where they discover that what they're considering purchasing is right matched with what they need and what they need now, that the timing for getting that is right now. And so sophisticated consumers are wising up to the importance of right matching and right timing.
Yes. And talk, because I think that is so important for, business leaders of organizations to understand that now. Like, again, that it's like the consumer has evolved, and it's persuading, convincing, and all that. Well, now we got to really match to what's really important. That if it's a challenge that could be better, if it's a result they're seeking and don't have, if it's a necessity, of course, that's another whole story. But yeah, if you could share that would be wonderful, Dr. David.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, the analogy I use is relationships. You vet before you date before you get engaged, you get engaged before you get married, right? And so what consumers are requiring now, that the leading edge, the more sophisticated and caring, and there are sophisticated and caring entrepreneurs and businesses today in and around sociopathic capitalism, which is a whole different thing. But there are a lot and an increasing number of truly caring businesses. And what they have gone to is a model that's based on that analogy I just described, where they're offering a taste, they're offering an experience of something at no cost in order to help people determine whether this actually is right matched for them and right timed for them. And if it is, they're offering people a way to get more involved at a lower cost. So that, and that's going into the dating process.
Yes.
That then leads to the right people being informed enough to purchase a higher cost product or service, and that's where they're really getting engaged. And then if they go to the premium or ongoing kind of commitment, that's getting married. And so ethical business people are matching the evolution of consumer demand in those ways, and part of how they're doing that is by articulating what they're providing in terms of helping people step into higher purpose, higher meaning, higher fulfillment, a more, if you will, and I mean this term generically, spiritual kind of transformation rather than transformation that's all about me.
Yeah. Wow. This is, some powerful stuff here. And, it's amazing that like all the things that things have shifted. And do you feel like, those business leaders or these companies, I should just say, let's just say companies in this certain industries that are on top of that, more like ahead of the curve, so to speak, are the ones that are really going to solidify those relationships and be able to calculate, projected revenues based upon based on that timing when they're buying those products and services?
Yes, they are. And what they need to do is they need to have really clear sense of metrics for each step in that process. So ROI is good, return on investment is good, but before you get people buying, before you can measure return on investment, you've got to be able to measure return on engagement. So that, for example, there are a lot of people out there that promote themselves as getting lots and lots of engagement on social media, right? But as you and I know, a lot of those folks are good at generating a lot of eyeballs, but no engagement, no click-throughs.
Yes.
Right? And, eyeballs are necessary, but they really don't matter unless they're the right eyeballs, the eyeballs that are right matched to wanting to click through to that dating opportunity.
Exactly.
So we
willing
have
to say yes to that next step.
Yes. So businesses really need to get wise to different metrics for the different steps in that process, from vetting to dating to engagement to marriage.
Wow, that's powerful. And obviously there's your background in psychology, being a psychologist, and it's so important to understand that, like understand how people process information, based upon, wants and needs and of course emotions and all of the above. If you could share some insights from that perspective, I think it would be extremely helpful to the listeners.
Sure. Let's go a little bit more specific. So what insights? So yes, I am a psychologist, and one of my areas of specialization is societal dynamics and entrepreneurship and the psychology of those things. What do you want me to key in on with that?
I would key on, like, just again understanding that psychology of the consumer, like, and again that how they go through their own process to really align what is needed at that right time, and again based upon that courting process that you described.
Right. Okay. So first thing to understand is that in today's climate, consumers are inundated. So they've got what's called things like banner blindness or email blindness. They're inundated with information overload, solicitation overload.
Yeah.
And they are, and generally people are in very, very high levels of chronic stress.
Yes.
So the first step in the process is breaking through that noise.
Yeah.
Having something that gets the attention of people who are in high stress and high overwhelm with solicitations. And so what we're seeing, of course, is that text doesn't work especially if it's by itself.
Yeah.
Graphics work better, videos work better yet, but attention span now is 9 seconds.
Yes, very narrow.
9 bloody seconds. Now, attention span does expand once people decide that they really are curious about something. Then they'll devote 18 seconds. No, I'm kidding. But first contact, if it can't be made in 9 seconds, it's not first contact. Blindness will ensue.
Yes. Or like they skip, they just immediately because again, there's always another video or something right behind it somewhere.
That's what I mean by blindness. Yes.
Yeah. So true. Wow. It is so powerful. And that's where, again, Apple was so genius back in the day when they revolutionized how we, look at it started with the iPod and then the iPhone and all those things they did. And they were able to really get into our psychology of how we do things. And so what are some things that marketers, in this case, I guess, this is going to be on marketing and, also PR, and sales as well. Like, that these divisions of any business have to be really, in cohesion with one another. Understanding, again, you have to know your audience. You have to know what their challenges are overall that could be better in those results they seek and don't have. Yeah.
Let's refine that even further.
Yeah.
Yes, we do need to know what our audience's challenges are, but we're not going to get their attention if we're speaking about the challenges we know they have underneath the challenges they think they have.
Yes.
So the starting place is us knowing the challenges they think they have that they are the most motivated to want to do something about now. And then from there, we can help them understand what the underlying challenges are that they didn't know or they kind of sensed, but they didn't know how to put into words. But that comes second. It doesn't come first.
Yes, it's true. It's like, again, there could be a root cause to all that, but they're like, they have no clue what that root cause is. And if you're meeting them there, it's kind of like, well, I can't process that. I just know that I'm struggling right now in this area. And that's where you got to meet them where they're at.
Right. And so psychologically, the sequencing is why should I care comes first, which is about speaking to their version, their understanding of what they're struggling with, that they're most highly motivated to do something about. That's the why should I care part, because if we're able to articulate that well, their reaction is going to be, oh my gosh, how did they get inside my head? How did they articulate what I think I'm struggling with even more effectively than I knew how to put into words? But they nailed it.
Yeah.
And the second question is, why can I believe you? And the answer to that question is where we take them through a deeper understanding of what's fueling the problem they think they have, what's underneath it, and where we help them in the spirit of service understand what to look for in the way of a solution, which then leads to the third question in the sequence, which is, why would I choose you? And they sell themselves. If we've helped them understand what's causing the things that they most want to resolve and what to look for in the way of a solution, they will ask us the equivalent of, oh, that makes sense. Do you offer that? So they've sold themselves at that point.
Yes. And just like what you said, that the consumer is drawing their own conclusion that I want to do something about this. And when they make a decision to say, I'm going to do something, that means they're going to do their part by securing the product or the service or a combination of both. And because they're doing their part, what's going to happen? It's probably a better experience. What usually happens. What you said was transformative, in that case. Or transcendental, excuse me.
It is transcendent.
Yeah, yes.
And part of what I love to do is, as a wordsmith, to help businesses articulate those things and take people through that psychologically sound sequence of engagement.
Yes. Yeah, and I think, from what you're sharing, so many businesses, and this would not just be this could even be marketing agencies or PR agencies, or could be people involved in sales enablement services, that are specialists in that area. Just because you would think, oh, they're marketing and PR doesn't mean they know what you're talking about.
They don't know the
Yes.
psychology of it at the depth that they need to.
Exactly.
That's right matched to consumer demand today.
Yes.
Right. And in fact, one of my clients is the CEO of a very high profile marketing and branding and advertising firm in New York.
Yeah.
And he seeks the psychological wisdom that I have. I'm never going to be the branding and advertising and marketing guy, but the psychology of those
Yes.
things, I'm that guy.
You're that guy. And again, that's all these areas of expertise as they build on each other is going to be the difference in, like you said, in those brands and that are aligning on that level with the consumer of where they're at. Because like you said, people are getting smarter. It's not like back in the day when you went to go buy a car, right? You had to go talk to a car salesman to get your information about these vehicles. Nowadays, you don't need a car salesman to give. You can get all that right at your fingertips, and now it's about the relationship, not about, oh, how can I persuade or convince them to put them in this car? So,
without a doubt. And the other thing I want to add, and I know you'll appreciate my adding this, is that the same principles hold true for nonprofits.
Yeah.
right?
That's
People,
critical when they're raising money, and that's always a challenge. Absolutely.
bingo. When they're raising money or when they're trying to gather more members, build their membership, nonprofits have the exact same challenge. And if nonprofits don't rise to that challenge with the same level of sophistication that for-profit businesses need to do, they're going to be lost in the shuffle also.
No, I 100% agree. I can see this applying, like you said, not only to for-profit or nonprofit, but even also those associations that could be either nonprofit or for-profit that have had an issue with either growing members or, in this case, now they've been losing members, especially after COVID. They lost more members, and because again, the message, it's not aligned correctly where overall their members are, and
Yes.
and. Yeah, so true. So true. Wow. Well, as I know, we're getting near the end of the show, and this has been just such a powerful conversation as we want to bring you back again at a later date and time to expand on this important topic, because this is so important. And I hope everyone listening and those listening later are getting extreme value. We want to give you the time, Dr. David Gruder, the time for you can let the listeners know how can they get in contact with you? What are you up to? And anything that you'd like to offer them while watching the show.
Sure. Well, the main place to go to is my main website, which is drgruder.com. That's drgruder.com. And if you want a little kind of taste of what I'm focusing on primarily these days, if you go to drgruder.com/2025, you'll get that information real easily. That's kind of the short Reader's Digest version of what I'm mostly focusing on these days.
Wonderful. Well, we highly encourage everybody to take advantage of reaching out to Dr. Gruder. Make sure to connect with him. We're going to make sure all of his information will be in the show notes as well, so that way you can have no excuse why not to contact him. This is such an important area for you, no matter what level you are in your business. Dr. Gruder, I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us here today. And then not only to thank you personally, and as well as the Business Influencer team, but also the board here at the Touch of Life Foundation, which is a philanthropic organization.
Marvelous. It's been a joy. I've really enjoyed our discussion.
Thank you. And listeners, we want to thank you each and every week for joining us here at Business Influencers. Again, we are committed each and every week in bringing subject matter experts like Dr. Gruder in to help elevate you, your level of influence, your business level of influence, to take it to the next level, because it's all about impact. And as Dr. David Gruder alluded today, that if you're going to create an experience, you have to invite them in to be part of that experience. Till then, everybody, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week at the same time. Take care.